Welcome inside of the comfort and the quiet zone of the Quiet Storm. We have our special guest tonight. Bishop T.D. Jakes is with us tonight, and he has just released another book, the 39th book, one might add, and it's called Destiny.
Yes, I wrote Destiny because when I wrote Instinct, I really wasn't finished, and I felt like there was more to be said. I got such a huge response from Instinct, and yet it felt like a conversation that wasn't ended.
I agree.
And so when I wrote Instincts, I tell people that if instinct is the metal, then destiny is the magnet. And so once you identify what you are instinctively, then there is a magnet that has drawn all of us all of our lives, and that magnet I refer to as destiny.
It's hard sometimes for us to see destiny. I know I had questioned certain things in my life. I'm thankful to God that I'm actually doing what I love to do. But obviously before getting to this stage, I did everything that I could possibly do to make ends meet. But questioned and wondered, was the ultimate ever going to happen?
You know, the funny thing about it, I so relate to what you said. I did some of everything. My father ran a janitorial service, so I grew up swinging a buffer from one end of the other store to the other. At about 10, you know, everybody in the house had to work, and my job was to take Brillo pads and scuff out the corners.
No way.
No
way.
But it taught me a work ethic at a very early age that has served me well. And then I was a manager of a paint department at Sears. I was a buyer for a men's clothing store for years. And all of it helps to inform who I am today. Leadership, responsibility, managing staff, handling problems and budgets and all of that. I didn't realize it then. It didn't pay very good.
No,
education generally doesn't. It generally costs more than it pays. But in the long run, it pays you back over time. And I think that we discover destiny as it relates to our past steps in retrospect. When you look back at it, you can see destiny.
Yeah, why during the process of it, we don't see it at all. We see it as just as opportunities, obviously, but we don't understand what the full payoff is.
Well, it's frustration because we live up under the shadow of, will I ever get there? And the trauma is we're not even sure where there is.
Right.
I wrote a book one time and asked the question, did Dr. King know he was there? You know, you could have shaken the whole world and everybody realized it but you. If you're not surrounded by people who are secure enough to affirm you and help to identify you, and you're surrounded by insecure people, then you don't get the reflection of yourself. So imagine living your life with no mirrors.
Wow.
You would never know what you look like.
Yeah.
Feel your face all you want to, but you couldn't tell what your fingers touched.
Exactly.
So if you don't have people around you who are secure enough to reflect the better parts of you, then you could be there and not know it. And so part of the things that I deal with in the book Destiny is surrounding yourself with people who accentuate and who reflect what you have accomplished and what you've been able to do.
I so can relate to that. So if I feel, for instance, that I'm there but not know it, should I surround myself with the right people to affirm where I'm at?
Yes, and when you do, it comes a point that you have to believe it, because you can be blessed and not believe it and be tormented because we have a tendency to live in the agony of our yesterday rather than the ecstasy of our today. And sometimes even though we have moved to a place of ecstasy, we don't readily identify it because we're still running from our agony.
Wow.
And I love India Arie's song. She says, in the lyrics say, hold on, baby, you're moving too fast. You got your hands in the air and your foot on the gas. You're about to wreck your future running from your past. You better slow down, baby, you're moving too fast.
Wow.
And that's it to me. That should be a sermon. It's an R&B song, but it should be a sermon because we are often so busy running from where we came from that we can't even determine where we are, and we'll wreck our future running from our past, never really realizing that your past has no power over you.
Bishop T.D. Jakes, baby, on the Quiet Storm tonight. We're coming back with learning more about the steps. He has a chapter in this book, in your latest book called Destiny, called Steps. I want to learn about that. You need to understand that as well. So, baby, stay close. Let's get into one of Joe's songs. Why did you? I heard you speak once, and you spoke very profoundly about Joe. He's a very good friend of mine as well. And just want to know, What gravitated you to Joe's music?
Me out there,
Yeah, I am definitely. And Joe, I hope you're listening right now.
I love his music. I think if you like R&B, I think he's the prime example of singing soulfully. Back when singers were really singing.
Yeah.
Today everything is synced and computerized, but Joe is a flat foot singer. And I love his voice. I love his lyrics. Sometimes they get a little racy. I'll admit that they get a little racy. But I've learned to appreciate all kinds of music. You can come in my house and listen to classical music one day or gospel music the next day. Or
you're diversified, huh?
Oh, very diversified. As is my son, who's studying music in Los Angeles.
Wow.
I'm so proud of the fact that he can go from opera to rock music to hip hop.
Because of you.
Yeah,
and your
absolutely.
wife. Yeah,
absolutely.
I feel that when children are exposed to certain things at an early age, they may not understand it, they may not even embrace it, but they have an appreciation for it.
Well, in his case, he's studying for music production, and he sees it much like an engineer. So he looks at how it's mixed and the sound value and the quality,
the creativity.
And I taught them to be broad in their thinking, not to be narrow. And that's rare to find amongst people of faith.
Yes.
Because people of faith are almost inherently taught to be narrow. In their perspective, because they're afraid of broadness. But I think that I can hold on to my perspectives and be in the world and still not be of it.
You better preach. Bishop T.D. Jakes inside the Quiet Storm tonight. Brand new book, another one that's going to be a top seller, needless to say. It's called Destiny, and it is available now. If you have not gotten it yet, please do get it, and get a couple of copies, because I think it serves as a purpose and it serves as a wonderful gift to give others. One of the chapters in this book, and I'm sure this relates to the ultimate goal in terms of attaining and reaching your destiny, is learning our steps to get there. Learning steps, as you shared with us just a little while ago, we don't really learn that there are steps of lessons of life, I should say, until we actually get there sometimes.
Part of my inspiration, Lenny, in writing that particular chapter was after working with a lot of millennials. And they said something to me that really blew me away, but it helped me to understand their frustration.
Okay.
They said, we didn't see how you guys got there. We saw the end and not the beginning. So they said, we tried to emulate where you were, dressed like you, walk like you, all the superficials. But we didn't have the history to go along with the destiny. And so I began to write about steps, because nobody gets there in an elevator.
Right.
You have to go through steps. You don't become President Obama overnight. In the book, I talk on and on about one of the many meetings that I had with Mrs. Coretta King, and to hear her tell about how she became who she was, and her worldview was so amazing. I got a real in-depth look at her worldview, and she knew who she was. I asked her why she never married again, and she smiled and she said, that was not the role I was here to play. She said, I was here to play the role of Martin's wife. And she said, frankly, he was a tough act to follow.
As I am more than certain she understands that. Well, you know what? It's so funny, because when you talk about the Millenniums, and we have challenges with the Millenniums, this day more than ever. And I know you're going to address that at some point. And I know you address it probably, obviously, with your congregation often on a regular basis. How do we teach the Millenniums now?
I think in some ways they're teaching us. I think we have to adjust to a new era and a new age. I don't think that we can get out of them the results that we got, because they didn't come from the same circumstances that we came from. They are the victims of our success.
So they don't look at the history?
No, not like we do, because our history was not theirs. I think they're encountering some of the aspects of our history in recent days, unfortunately, as it relates to civil rights and unrest in the black community. But it's like my children. I got frustrated with them because on Christmas Day they went out to get some food from McDonald's, which was sacrilege to me.
Okay.
And they said, and I was just having a fit about it. And they said, Daddy, we don't care nothing about no food. He said, we had food all the time. They said, we just like hanging out with you and Mama.
Wow.
And suddenly I realized, until they had grown up off of tomato sandwiches and mayonnaise sandwiches, they would not understand why Christmas dinner was such a big deal to me.
Yes.
I'm trying to give them my results without my stimulus. And that doesn't happen. I think you have to appreciate them for where they are. And then we have to go back and fill in the blanks because they are the generation that raised themselves, because we were the generation who was busy trying to make a living with mom and dad working outside of the home.
Wow.
They were raised by Facebook and Instagram and all of that kind of stuff.
You're right.
And sometimes they are more amenable to computers than they are to persons. And so filling in the blanks and teaching about relationship and teaching them, you don't get there in a step. You can't compare yourself with somebody 50 and you're 30. You know, you're not supposed to be where I am.
Right.
I wasn't where I am at 30.
Right.
And letting them see the beauty of the process. And I think many people listening at us right now need to pitch little parties and have celebrations for every step rather than waiting till you get to the top landing.
Structuring a plan for our life, is that important in your opinion?
I think it's very important. If you don't have a strategy and if you don't have a plan, I think you plan to fail. I have never seen anybody successful, whether winning the Olympics or getting a degree. Nobody gets a degree by accident. I don't know how I got this degree. I just walked across the stage and they gave it to me. They had to walk up the steps to get to it, you know.
Right.
You don't win the Olympics by accident. Success is intentional. People who are successful aim at it, and people who are not, they just get out of the bed in the morning with one objective. They want to survive the day.
Wow.
They just want to survive the day. So when they get to the end of the day and they made it, they say, oh, let's face another day. And then one day they run out of days.
It's interesting. You brought up in a sermon that I once watched about a breaking point. Mm-hmm. You said a champion doesn't get to that level unless he has survived or he has encountered a breaking point in their life.
Absolutely. You'll never know how strong you are until something almost breaks you, knocks you to your knees. It's like lifting weights in the gym. It's when the muscle fatigues, when it fails, that it stretches, that it swells, that it grows. So if you're trying to avoid the pain, you're missing the power.
Wow.
The breaking point is the whole point of lifting weights. So when you're pushing, you know, when I exercise myself, okay. I'm real good to myself.
I'm sure.
I get close to the breaking point. I say, well, that's enough of that.
That's it. Well, I figured that you have somebody push you a little bit.
I do.
Okay.
And when the trainer comes along and pushes me, I hate him while he's there.
But the results are good.
The results are good, yeah. But the process is really painful because what causes the muscle to bulge is the tear. If it doesn't tear, it doesn't grow. And I think that's like us if we don't tear. You know, when Jesus took the bread, he broke it and blessed it. He didn't bless it and break it. He broke it and blessed it. The blessing is in the breaking. If you don't go through the breaking, you can't have the blessing.
That's all I can say. Bishop T.D. Jakes, I'm going to let him go in just a minute. He has a crazy schedule, but I thank him so much. This is, of course, the time when we're getting inside of Confessions of Love, which is the perfect opportunity for me to lead in talking about love. And who better than Bishop T.D. Jakes to kind of counsel us and inform us with you having gotten married in, I think, 81?
Yes, that sounds right.
You and your wife had a wonderful connection. Did you know she was going to be your wife? Because I often ask men this, and some men have said to me that when they saw the woman, they knew that was going to be their wife.
I didn't know it when I saw her, but I could mark the X on her mother's living room floor when I knew without certainty that she was one for me. And I cannot tell you how I knew. I married her at 24. It's very difficult to pick somebody at 24 that will fit you at 50.
I think so.
You know, sometimes we pick people over the immediacy of the moment without a long-term strategy. But her core values, who she is in her core, was so harmonious with me. And I think that we are together largely because of her. She's tenacious. She doesn't give up easy. I don't give up easy. And so that helps us. And we're very different. You know, if I'd have married somebody like me, we would have been divorced years ago. Yeah, wow. She's very different from me. I'm an extrovert. She's an introvert, things like that.
So opposites do attract in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it important, or let me rephrase this, how soon would you counsel a congregation member prior to marriage? And do you think that that's quintessential for couples?
I think it helps a lot. I think it also helps to understand that when you marry a person, you're marrying their family, not just them. and the culture of their family.
Now, how do we know, Bishop?
You need to interact with their family and not just them, because we tell them to communicate, but we don't tell them that the words mean different things. When you say I love you and she says I love you, what we mean by it is based on what our family taught us love was. So if our family taught us that love was fighting, then I won't feel love till you hit me.
Does the relationship, how they deal with their family, especially with mother, father, does that have a reflection on how they may treat others who come into their life?
I think it might give you a hint to the longevity of their commitment. Are they forgiving? Have they gotten over things? Because if they have a tendency to hold grudges over there, they're apt to hold grudges over here. People's patterns are revealed, and I think we don't work at marriage like we would hire an employee or buy a car. We do more investigation to buy a car than we do to get a wife.
This is true. So what would be the top three things us as men who are single, who are looking for the ideal lady, in terms of the things that we should look for, the things that we should pay attention to? And our top three is pretty hard to do, but what should we pay attention to that you've noticed most men fall short of?
I think that we need to really check if we are philosophically compatible. If love is important to you, is it important to her? If career is important to you, is that what is important to her? In order to pick a good mate, you have to date yourself. Because until you know you won't know who fits you. And I think where men really get off the track is that we enter into relationships looking for the woman to define us. Because most of us have never been fathered. So we are, by virtue, nameless. And so we look for the woman, and her accolades give us a sense of affirmation, and as long as she gives us that, we are there.
Wow.
But when she gets busy and ceases to feed our egotistical need to have affirmation, then we become frustrated, because the real core problem isn't her, it's us.
It's us.
We don't know who we are.
So learn who we are first.
Learn who you are, because you can't figure out who fits you if you don't know who you are. Learn who she is to see if it's a good fit beyond superficials and sex. Because no matter how amazing either one of them might be, they will become ordinary if you do it 30 years.
But can't we be falsely led?
We can be falsely led, absolutely falsely led, but it's your job to be smart enough to make sure you can buy a raggedy car too, but it's your job to look up under the hood. Look at her mother. Look at her mother. Look at her sisters or brothers, or how they feel toward each other. Look at how they resolve conflict, because that right there is very important. Do they become silent and brood? Are they argumentative and fight? And then determine whether this is somebody that you can hit a bump with and make it over a hurdle, because in 33 years, I've hit bumps, craters, dinosaurs, lions, tigers, and bears. And is this a good partner? Can you get in a fight with life and stand back to back and win?
His name is Bishop T.D. Jakes. He really doesn't need any kind of introduction at all. I can't believe the time has gone by so quickly, and I can talk to this man until I'm blue in the face. But it's been an honor and a pleasure just to have this moment with you, sir.
It was
and I thank you so much for giving me your time.
Great interviews come from smart people. Thank you.
I'm honored, and I thank you so much. Bishop T.D. Jakes, baby, on the Quiet Storm. Confessions of Love, up next.